Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, brothers and sisters. You are listening to Zed here on the drive time. We have some extremely special moments to share with all of you here on the Haj Radio. You know, always I'm used to saying Radio Haj, but my producer tells me don't forget to say it's Haj Radio. Of course, it takes getting used to it, you know, when you start here on your first day and then your day 3 you get it right, you know, so you make mistakes and you learn from them, and that's what it's all about here today. We're all here to learn from our mistakes. Every day we make mistakes, and every day we correct our mistakes, we get better and better, right? And that's how we build a progressive society. And I have here today with me my brother Yakub Ismail.
That's right.
Now, my brother, you know, it's been quite some time since we've had a live moment to share in the studio, because from March 2020 the dynamics have changed, you know. So today I feel really happy that I'm talking to someone live as opposed to looking at a screen on the Zoom. So welcome to Haj Radio on a very special day today, because it's the first day, and of course on Evington Road. So welcome.
Assalamu alaikum to all the listeners, Zed and Radio Haj. Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored that I'm your first guest, and like you, I'm really excited to be able to meet members of the community in person, because you know everything's been in a virtual space on Microsoft Teams or Skype or on email. So just being here in your company, having this chat with you, I'm really honored. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, Brother Yakub Ismail, for those of you who don't know, or you've sort of never encountered any knowledge about our police force in Leicester, right? 24 years.
25. I'm in my 25th year.
25th years.
Yeah.
It's a journey. It's almost, we say, that is 1/4 of life.
Absolutely.
Right? So you've been in the force throughout your second sector of life.
Absolutely.
From the period 25 to 50.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's quite a journey, isn't it?
A hell of a journey I'm proud of, a journey, you know, during which I've learned so much about myself. It's a journey in which I have been able to live to my family values and my personal values. It's a job that I'm really, really proud of. You know, where we are today is not where we were 25 years ago. I think policing is in a much better place, and policing as a career is a fantastic career option for anybody thinking about it. You know, from where I was 25 years ago to where I am today, as you know, I am the neighbourhood policing commander for this area, which is the east area of Leicester.
So Leicester East, commonly known as Leicester East.
Commonly known as Leicester East. So if you think of where I was 25 years ago as this young PC walking in through the doors at Charles Street to being the commander today, I'm privileged and I feel honoured to have that position. And your guests will be thinking, what is a neighbourhood policing commander? For those who are interested, so I am responsible for the Rushmead, Belgrave, St Matthews, Highfields, Evington, Rowletts Hill, Thurmby Lodge and the Hamilton. So those areas make up Leicester East as you've described it. I am the police commander for that area.
Of course, do we have a stat on how many people live in Leicester East? Across all diversities.
We do. I know they did a census recently, and I don't want to share a figure with you in case I'm slightly off the census figure.
Well, me and you have a little guess.
Okay.
Right, and
we'll start with your guess.
They make a note of it in the studio there, and then obviously whoever gets it right, I'm sure that they will award us a little bit of a prize.
Okay.
So I would say that we are going to hit a figure of about 120,000 in Leicester East around that period.
At a guess, I would say you're not far off being wrong. I would go less than that, about 80, 85.
Well, 87 is the current figure, right? So we're going to be hitting a higher figure, because this census is a 10-year project.
Yeah.
And I think in October, isn't it, they're going to release the figures.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've said I was closer to the actual figure, because I think you went with 120, I went 85, which is closer to the 87.
Of course,
so
that is,
I hope I'm right.
My figure was for the new results that are going to come out, right? The new results. So obviously we have had an increase in the number of people there. But the point is now, what we need to all be aware of is to share with all our listeners the different diversities that have come into the city
Absolutely.
over, let's say, a period of 50 years, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
What has happened? And it is Leicester East, for all of you listening in, is the make or break of the city.
Absolutely.
In terms of governance, in terms of electioneering, in terms of the political divide. It is a make or break one, isn't it?
Leicester in general is extremely diverse. I think the London School of Economics described Narborough Road as one of the most diverse streets or roads in the UK. But then Leicester East in itself, you've just touched on it yourself. You've got every ethnicity, you've got every religious makeup, you've got different cultures, different community groups. It is so diverse, and that's why it's exciting to work here, because you get to understand all these different ways of life and culture, and also the food that goes with it, which is fantastic. And as an MPA commander, for me, it's really important that I am accessible and that I engage with all these diverse groups. And that's why, when you think of my vision, and if you see my vision, community engagement is at the top of that. And for me, what that means is I want to be accessible to all those groups in all the languages if I can, but just not physically. So I ask my officers to go and do bead surgeries, to go and do community consultations in physical spaces. But I want to engage with community groups and the diversity we talk about in a virtual space. We're accessible on email, we're accessible on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, wherever. I want us to be accessible to whichever way works for that community.
Of course, we have a lot of work to do, Brother Yakub, right? Because right now, as I see it, you and I are together, we have 3 partners. That you have the constabulary, who you are representing in Leicester East. You have the media fraternity, and then you have the community as a partner. So all 3 of us, we have to put, what I particularly like about what you said in the last meeting was that let's draw down 3 objectives which we want to achieve. Once we've achieved them, then we're going to do the next 3. And I think that is the way forward,
Absolutely important, because, without objectives, what are we delivering? What are we working to? For me, the important objectives are the objectives that are important to everyday people. And that's why my ask of people that live on Leicester East and across Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland is engage with the police. Tell the police what matters to you, so that, once we understand what the real issues are, and for you it might be a parking issue, for you it might be a neighbourly issue, for somebody else it might be burglary. Feed all that into the police so that we can create our priorities and we can start delivering.
Now, is there an option for the community to have to reach out on social media or on a platform whereby they can connect with you directly?
Absolutely.
Or your department or the constabulary, because we want to reduce the gap between the public and the constabulary.
And you've heard the public are the police and the police are the public.
Of course.
And it's true to this day, because we have police officers, PCSOs, and our staff are from our communities. So, some of these issues that affect our communities are real to our staff, and vice versa. So my first ask to the listeners is, if you've got a pen and paper, www.neighbourhoodlink.co.uk. Please take the time out, register on that web address. It's www.neighbourhoodlink.co.uk. When you register on there, you will be kept up to date about policing issues that are important to your local community, and it's down to your postcode. We will give you crime reduction advice, we'll give you community safety advice, and also through that platform you will be able to engage directly with the officers that are responsible for your area. So you won't be speaking to officers at headquarters or at you'll be speaking to officers who are local to your community. But it's my way of engaging with you as well, but also it's your way of holding me accountable. You can, through that platform, send me emails to say, we said to you this was important, what have you done about it? And using Neighbourhood Link, I can come back and update you. So my ask today to your listeners is, please register on Neighbourhood Link.
Of course, any of you listening in right now, you can call in on 01164 822 or you can send us a text or a WhatsApp on 0774 8855 Right. One impressive point here that you made before and even today is working in partnership.
Absolutely.
Right. Sometimes I have to keep reminding the community that without the community, there will be no governance, right? So the community has to come together and make things happen.
Yeah.
So sometimes, always we preach here on the radio that be the change that you want to see in this world.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that we can say, right, we can create a change here in Leicester East right now.
Yeah, we can.
Right.
But we can only do that if we form the partnerships. And I know your listeners won't be naive enough to know the police alone cannot solve all of society's problems. For us to work on the things that matters to our vulnerable people, to our locations that are causing us problems, is through partnership working. Let's involve the community, especially the youth. We need the youth voice to be involved in this partnership so that, because some of the best ideas for solving some of these issues come from the youth. So I would encourage, your listeners to get involved in community groups, to get involved in grassroots groups, and encourage those groups to engage with the police, with the council, and with other community groups. Because as a partnership, there's a saying: in strength there's unity. In unity there's strength. When people come together, you can deliver more, you can achieve more. I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's about partnerships. I agree with you.
Of course, and one of the objectives I want to list out today is that we connect with all the organizations, be it their charities or their community centers, and even we have to work hard with them to tell them that, look, this is your police, this is not mine or anybody else's. The police is working together with you. And we want to create an atmosphere where it's not an us and them situation. Right? And there are so many different diversities here, which one of my concerns here in the city and throughout the country is that these diversities, they're all going in their own direction, right? And we want to create one river. We don't want to create 50 rivers here. If everybody is going in their own direction, we're going to lose track.
But having said that, Zed, I have seen a lot of positive stuff in this community. I have seen a lot of community groups working together, of different faiths, of different community groups pulling together. So I have seen that. And COVID now is a prime example of that, where our communities have been through some really, really difficult times, losing family members, being isolated, dealing with mental health issues, receiving food from food banks. And this is where you saw a real community spirit, where community groups and volunteer groups from different faiths were supporting one another. They were supporting individuals from out of their communities, from out of their diversity, and I was extremely, extremely impressed to see that. I wasn't surprised by it, and in terms of the police and the community's relationships, I think we're in a good place. I remember now in the COVID lockdown, community groups inviting the cops to go with them on, food bank deliveries, so that it could be an opportunity to engage with the vulnerable person behind the door. So we'd go with a volunteer, they would deliver the food, but an officer would be there, or a community support officer, just building relationships. So I think the relationships are good. The relationships with the police, we police by consent. And that's why, I'm so glad I've come to east of the city of Leicester, because I know the relationships here with the police is strong, and it's getting stronger. I'll give you an example. Recently on St. Stephen's Road in the Highfields, there was an incident that required various agencies to come together to resolve this incident. It was the mosque that opened their community section of the mosque to people of all faiths, of all communities, just to have some shelter whilst the incident was being dealt with. And that's the community spirit I see, and I'm really proud to see that.
Of course, like that, there are many, many organizations, many institutions. You mentioned a mosque. There are temples, there are gurdwaras, there are churches. And you've seen, we've discussed this before last week when we met, that these establishments, we need to encourage them to open their establishments more, to step up their engagement levels with the community, to come make a difference. Right? They are the ones who are very local. You will recall that in the UK, in the 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, literally every street at the bottom end had a church.
That's right.
Right? Today, we have this so much diversity here. There are different types of mosques and mandirs, and we call them temples, mandirs, gurdwaras, and they have many different denominations, right? So we're trying to say that, look, if at a count, nobody here today can guess how many there are. Right? Now you imagine if all of them put together, the figure exceeds 300. All of them put together. from every denomination.
Yeah.
Right? They themselves are the game changers, aren't they?
I was really impressed. I went to a Gurdwara recently on East Park Road,
Yeah.
and I visited the Langar there. And,
Yeah.
I learned that the Langar is open to anybody from any religion, any community group, any race, just to come and have a free meal if they struggle.
For those of you who don't know, a langar, Langar, it's in many of the Sikh temples, they have a huge kitchen, and it doesn't serve steak and chips or anything like that, but you'll get a dal and a rice.
You'll get a warm meal.
Yeah.
You'll get a hot
You'll
food.
get a hot meal.
That's amazing to
It's a
see.
staple meal, and you can go there. Anybody can go there
Yeah.
at any lunchtime,
But
and they'll get fed there.
Absolutely. But speaking of religious establishments opening up, I spoke to the imams recently. I met, up to about 35 imams recently in the past couple of weeks, and every one of them showed a willingness to open their establishments, to work with communities, because, they understand the crucial role that they play in society. So, inshallah, I'm hoping that the mosques will continue to open. I mentioned to the mosques the Neighborhood Active Project that I have. This is a group of mothers and sisters from our community who have been trained by the police, who have been vetted by the police, who are able to deliver training on mental health, on domestic violence, on antisocial behavior, and a whole host of other different things. So the mosques have said they will invite the Neighborhood Active ladies to come into their community groups and into their centers to deliver some of that. So I'm really looking forward to working with the mosques on that, and I thank them for that.
Of course, I want to go back to your journey,
Yeah,
right? To where you are today.
yeah.
I want you to explain to our listeners your inception into the constabulary and what was your inspiration to join the constabulary. And I want you to fast track a journey 25 years to where your position is today. Because the reason I want to go through that is I want our young people who are listening in right now is with a lot of CPD. They can also do it, can't they?
Absolutely. I mean, some of my journey. I came to the UK as a young migrant with no education at all. I had up to GCSEs, but not very good GCSEs. So the only job I could get then was in the factories, in the textile industry, and that's where I started. But, I remember from my father's values of working with communities, of helping people, I wanted to do that. So I was always, visiting the job center, looking out for jobs. But whilst I was at in the factories, I was always educating myself, trying to improve my English, that speaking and written. I was always trying to improve. And you may laugh if I say this. I used to watch The Bill, the TV program The Bill, and I used to see that, and it kind of inspired me when I learned what a police officer really does. They don't just arrest bad people, which is what I do enjoy doing, and I do enjoy driving the fast cars, but I enjoy helping people. So that inspired me. I applied and became a police officer, and I started as a police constable at Charles Street, walking the beat. But whilst as a police officer, I always continued to learn. I went to De Montfort University and I did a law degree. Whilst I was young in life and started a young family in a young job. And I didn't just stop there. Beyond my law degree, I went and did a master's degree in police leadership. I wanted to progress, and alhamdulillah, after a lot of hard work, 25 years later, I am, the MPA commander for this area. It's achievable, it's doable, but you have to want to progress.
Of course. Now, a lot of you young people listening in right now, you've got to take heed from what Brother Yakub Ismail is saying, that nothing is possible without a lot of CPD.
Yeah, but
commitment, passion,
yeah,
and dedication, right?
But for those who are interested, for those who want to put the hard work in, times have changed. There's so much help available from people like yourselves and the community. There's mentors, there's coaches, there's people who have been down the journey you want to go to. There are many people who will make themselves available to guide our youth. So if there's a young person out there who's listening who wants to join the police, for example, all they have to do is reach out to me. I can put them in touch with somebody, or I can personally help them through the journey, with coaching, coaching, with mentoring, or if somebody wanted to be a doctor, or they wanted to be a radio broadcaster or a businessman, there are people out there in the community who are prepared to spend time with them. So all you have to do is want to do something. You have to have that dream, and you have to take small steps. But if you do, I'm sure people from the community will step forward and help you.
Of course, I think my producer is nodding his head at the moment. He's saying that you are recruited for our mentoring leadership program.
I'd love to be a community mentor. I am a mentor for De Montfort University, so I work with their students. But imagine being able to give something back to our communities. So if there are listeners in the community who are listening through your radio tour show, if they want to get in touch with me, for me it's an honor. I say to people, this is my community that I'm the commander of. So what better honor is there to give something back to a young person?
Of course, we are all focused on Leicester East today because this is your patch.
Yes.
But citywide, the Haj Radio is committed to working across the city and the county. There's so much we don't know about each other that we are learning also. The other areas are coming here, talking to us, and we don't know their area and they don't know our area, right? And this is what we want to stop, and we want to dispel that theory, us and them creation. We want to link up with everybody in the city.
Absolutely.
We want to know people living in Esmonsal, in New Parks, in all the areas that we are working with in the city. Here's some messages, a short interruption from our schedule here. How about you read that message?
A question on Facebook from Khalid Jusab. How's your golf game, Inspector Saab? Not very good at the minute. Thank you for your question, Khalid Bhai. I am trying to get better, but thanks for your question. I want to be a motorcycle cop. Where do I start? Starting place, Khalid Bhai, I can imagine it's the same person. You need to get a motorcycle license for a start.
That's a good... No, I think you should get a moped license. Moped.
A moped license in your case, but you cannot be a motorcycle cop if you don't become a cop first.
Better still, I got a better idea. Start learning to ride a bike.
I don't know if you heard that, Khalid Bhai. Start learning to ride a bike.
Yeah.
Once you can ride a bike, join the police, and then we'll take it from there. So starting point is stay upright on a bicycle, join the police, and we'll take it from there. Thanks for your questions.
Of course, we have touched upon a topic here about your journey, which I myself am very impressed, and you've explained to us. And it's a journey filled with a lot of dedication and commitment. Right, and we repeat that again, that anything that you do, all you young people listening in, if you don't have that commitment, you don't have that dedication, and you don't have that passion, then you're not going to be succeeding, right?
To be a police officer, you need to have passion. You have to have community spirit within you, and your values have got to, your values have got to be strong for wanting to take care. Because this job has some really, really difficult times. There are some dark days where you will see some really, really difficult things. You will deal with some really complex stuff. The paperwork side is really difficult to manage as well. But then there's times where you will save a life, where you will bring so much joy, you'll take care of somebody. So no 2 days is the same in the job. But if your ambition is money, it's financial reward, this may not be the job for you. This is the job for the person whose values are the Islamic values of saving lives, of, helping your community, taking care of one another. If those values are strong in you, then this is definitely a career choice for you.
Of course, now, Brother Yakub Ismail is reaching out to all of you listening in right now. He's in a position where he can create change, in the sense that you bring in many issues to him, and he's going to look at them, he's going to deal with them, and it is a lot of pressure, because not everything is in his power to make happen. But I feel today, sitting with him, that he's got that grit in him to bring about change in the city for the better, right? We have to go forward to make things better.
We cannot do it alone. we need to build partnerships. I ask our communities, to come on board, and in the simplest way of telling me what matters to you. If, through Neighborhood Link, communities do not tell me what matters to them, then what I do is I design priorities based on data. The data will take me to crime, to burglaries, to knife crime, to antisocial behavior, to theft. That's where the data takes me to. But, what might be important to an individual is a parking issue outside their road, or dog fouling in the park, or antisocial behavior. That might matter to that community. So my only ask in this partnership is, register on Neighborhood Link, tell me what matters to you, and then through that platform, hold me accountable. Tell me, we said to you X, Y, and Z, what did you deliver? And if we, if we build that relationship, I think together we'll achieve a lot more, inshallah.
Of course, all of you listening in right now, today is just one first meeting with Brother Yakub Ismail, but in a few other moments I think we will share together. We will be discussing more issues which are prevalent, that I know that people have mentioned to me outside of the studio, things that we see happening in USA, they carry over to England. That is not what policing is about.
No.
Right?
No.
But it does have an effect all over the world. When you see atrocities being committed, right, it comes back home to us here, right here in Leicester East.
Yeah.
And it causes detachment between many of us, right? And there's another message here which we're going to come back to that message, as I was just completing.
Yes.
What I'm trying to do, address that particular issue, what Brother Khalid has mentioned here, initiatives like Prevent and targeting Muslims. So this is what we will discuss in another meeting with a group of members of the community who can come and they can put their views forward on the table, and we can address them together collectively.
Sounds good, I like that.
We're all here to work together, and these are kind of topics today. Today's meeting was not about discussing issues like that, about Prevent, right? For that, we're going to create another meeting.
Absolutely.
And Brother Khalid Jusuf will be bringing the samosa and the tea.
I look forward to that. And it's an important question he's asked, about mistrust between the police and ethnic communities, about the various initiatives like Prevent, and that's an important discussion that I think needs to be had. So when, when we have the opportunity through the radio channel, I think we should have an important discussion.
Very important, as Brother has mentioned there, is if we bring on the table 2 or 3 prime objectives, will come out of that room with a result. But if we put down here 10 different topics, we're not going to get anywhere. All our time, our effort will be spent just on that, and we will not be able to achieve any objectives. So today, if we can achieve 3 objectives, which I'm going to go through them. 1 is to step up our level of engagement. 2 is to create that leadership mentorship program where, along with the business community and other professional communities and the police, we share, we discuss, and we help many of our young men and young women who want to enter into different professions. We lend a hand. Today I'm proud to say that in the city of Leicester, we have how many ethnic policemen and women in the city of Leicester?
Over 335. But for your listeners, we have the Association of Muslim Police, and my understanding in there we have up to 80 members, and that's
in Leicester,
PCSOs, police constables, support staff from our Muslim local community. And if you haven't looked them up, Google them. The Association of Muslim Police Leicester. A fantastic bunch of local Muslim contacts who will be able to support some of our community initiatives and work with our youth as well. But to answer your question, over 335 ethnic minority officers
in Leicestershire.
In Leicestershire alone, yes.
Now that is a huge number.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Now, those of you who are from the decade, the 70s, right, will not be able to even count 5, right?
Yes.
Now, Brother Yakub Ismail, you are very enthusiastic about your new position, and you have a strong desire to take things forward, right?
Absolutely.
And to take we all go and go on this journey together as a team.
Yeah, for me, my vision is three things. Community engagement in all its forms, physically and in the virtual space. With our partners, with individuals, with our youth. That's really important. The other two things that matter to me most is our people. Who are our vulnerable people that need safeguarding? Young and old, of all, ethnic minorities, cultures, community groups. How can I take care of them? And also amongst those people is who are the bad people? Who is it we need to be, who are causing harm to our community that we need to be paying attention to? And the other thing in the vision is locations. What are the locations that are causing me, our community's issues that I need to do something about? But one last thing, if I can, Zed, is I just wanted to pay tribute to the imams and the masjid committees, because over this COVID period of the last 16 months, what I have noticed is that the ulama and the committees have behaved impeccably. If you went to any masjid, you would have found at the door there was antiseptic gels. They were giving out masks. They had community volunteers who we must give lots of credit to. They were ensuring people were safe inside. There was social distancing. They were providing musallas. But beyond that, in the Muslim community, our janazas, the ghusls, our nikahs are really, really important. Where, historically, lots of people want to attend. And I think our community volunteers, our imams and masjids did a fantastic job ensuring that our Islamic rituals and faraid were adhered to, whilst keeping people safe. And for that, I think they should get a lot of credit. I'd like to pass our many thanks to them for their responsibility in this COVID period, because besides taking care of the masjids, you've heard me say earlier, they took care of a lot of vulnerable people, and I'm sure the community will be grateful for that. But on my behalf as MPA commander, I was really proud to see that.
Of course, you did miss something out though.
Go on.
That on Saturday,
yeah,
the imams against the police football match, right? And the imams got thrashed. The police beat them 5-3.
Only?
Yeah, and one of the chaps from the police department, he scored a goal. I think if it would have been televised, he would have been selected for the England match today.
I heard about that goal. Somebody said it was like Marco van Basten in the World Cup, or a famous game a while ago. I heard about that goal. I missed it. We have got some talent.
I think he nearly fell apart himself after that goal went into the net, and I was watching it right from when he kicked it, and you just had a feeling that this ball is going to go in the net.
But Brother Khalid talked about, mistrust and relationships. This is how we break them, by being involved in our communities, playing sport with them, taking part in community events, taking part in community activities, and having conversations, even if they are difficult. Sometimes, a difficult conversation is a good conversation. If the community can share some home truths with us that maybe we need to hear, then we can address those things. We're not naive to the fact that we need to have difficult conversations, to build trust, to break barriers. But it starts with a conversation. Of course.
Now, when we are talking about these issues where engagement from us as a community, the ethnic community in this city is exceeding what percent to your knowledge?
I'm not sure. Remind me.
Well, what we say here on radio, we say knowledge plus data equals what?
Knowledge plus data equals, you tell me, go on.
Power, success,
and
money, right? Data and knowledge is very important. When we have this data, we have knowledge. You mentioned that earlier on, that you need that data. You compile the data together and you add the knowledge to it, and you can decide what to do, what's the best way to deal with these things. And then the ethnic community in the city is, after the census, we predict that it's going to hit a figure between 50 to 60%. That is going to be the percentage in the city. And
we want that percentage reflected in our police, in our other agencies.
So I am very pleased to say that it is reflected in the police with the figure that you've given me. That there are 335 members from the ethnic community in Leicester City and Leicestershire. Now, that is a figure where I want all of you listening in right now to take note of, right? Because that is something we are very proud of, right? It took years, decades, 50 years it's taken to come to that level, right? Now, we got to work hard to build on that, right?
And we are.
And it's not a competition, it's not a numbers game, but we will reduce the detachment between creating that us and them situation.
And now in our degree holder entry program, between 18 and 23% of all applicants come from our minority ethnic communities, which is fantastic to see. I see you've got another question.
Now this is one I know that a lot of people in the community have been talking about the Elbit protest that was at the Meridian Business Park, right? And it reads, during the Elbit protest, we went to force headquarters to try and have a conversation with the police, but we got arrested and then released without charge. How can we trust the police when they behave like thugs and abuse the law themselves, right? So these exact issues are what we are trying to dispel as a community together.
So in relation to the incident that Brother Khalid is talking about, the police were involved in community engagements. They were engaging with all our communities and listening to community voices and community perspectives. But the job of the police is as well as to maintain law and order, is to ensure the safety of all involved, including those involved in the protesters. How can we trust the police when they behave like thugs and abuse the law themselves? That's something I cannot comment on. It's not something I saw. When we have to apply force in certain situations, the law requires us to apply reasonable force to be proportionate, in the application of that. But, I've noted the question on there.
Of course, extremely political and emotions were running very high. I was there doing some interviews on the day. Right, it was very, very highly charged situation, and it was a very emotional issue. And again, it became an us and them situation there, right, on the day. So these are issues which we can deal with together as a community. That everybody should take heed that it's about humanity. It's not about a Muslim or an Indian or a Sikh or an Englishman or a Scotsman or a Welshman, and I can go on forever, right? It's all about humanity, right?
But what's important to note is people have their constitutional right to protest lawfully and peacefully. And at any protest you go, wherever, there will be a small minority of individuals, one or two, who no matter what the community or those who are there for the right reasons are trying to achieve, will want to, raise their profile by doing something. I'm glad you were there. I don't know what your experiences were, but from speaking to police officers that were there, what was important to them was the safety and the well-being of everybody involved.
Of course, a lot of messages are also rolling in on my own phone and text messages, and it always happens here on the radio that people start contacting you directly. And it is the issue what you mentioned is really made me happy today about the 335 people from the ethnic community who are part of the Leicester Constabulary, the city and the county.
Yeah.
City and county, we are over 1.1 million population, right? And to say that the total number of police in city and county, what's a figure?
Police officers, not PCSOs. I can't give you the exact figure, but I can get that for you. I think 2,700. I'll get the exact figure for you.
2,700. Now, of course, I'm going back to the 70s where the police station was Charles Street.
Yeah.
Right? Now today that is offices there.
Yeah.
But it used to be a police station.
Yeah.
And everything centered around Charles Street, and then it ventured out from there to the smaller regional stations. But in 50 years, dynamics have changed completely, haven't they?
Yeah.
So what is the structure that the constabulary work to right now?
The primary objective or structure they work to is to be the most accessible. So you may have seen one or two big police stations go, but what's happened is a lot of smaller police stations have appeared just so that communities have somewhere accessible. For example, on the Thurnby Lodge, we've got a neighbourhood police office there, which is literally 1.5 miles away from a big police station. If you move to the right of the Keyham Lane Hamilton police station, as it's known, 2 miles or 1.5 miles, you've got the Belgrave Community Police Station there. If you move 1 mile left of that towards the city, you got the St. Matthew's police base there. 2 miles to the left of that, you got a big police station, Spinney Hill police station. So we may have lost some big structure, but in that place, lots of small community-based police officers have opened up. But just about the figures, I mentioned 27. I may be wrong. I can check that and come back to you.
Of course, yeah. We all work here on data. And it's better to always check your data and correct your figures, because sometimes where do we go for data? We go and research on Google.
Which is what I will do after this, go on the internet and research it myself.
Yeah, and that's what we do. Of course, we have to know, because we always say that if you don't know yesterday, you're not going to know today.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to define a good tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So that's what we call it here on the radio of ITT, yesterday, today and tomorrow. And that's what it's all about. So we touched upon earlier on one of the messages that came to me, which we're going to deal with in greater detail another time, is about the issues of racism. And when you see an example in the police that we have 335 officers in the city and county, then we're looking at all other institutions in the city. Across the board, the NHS, you have the professional communities, and you have the sporting fraternities with the football, with the cricket and rugby. And when you see, if you look at the present England football team, which we are rushing to go home and watch today.
That's right.
At 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So that's the kickoff time. Is that right, 8 p.m.?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, 8 p.m. Now a producer will confirm the time, because he rushes off first before anybody else.
But Zed, what's important is...
You see the diversity in that team.
You mentioned racism. People need to recognize, and they do know, that the police force is a reflection of society. And that's what it is. With any organization that's got more than 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, you are always going to get, and in any family, you're always going to get somebody in there that's got, certain views. And like I said, in an organization over a certain number, you're going to get 1 or 2 people in there who may be racist, or who are racist. Let's call it what it is. But what's really good about Leicestershire Police is we have systems in place, to weed out that behavior overtly and covertly. So we're always on the lookout for, racist behavior, racist language, racial undertones. We ourselves are looking out for it, because we know we have systems in place to tackle those through our professional standards department, and the organization is zero tolerant to any of that sort of behavior.
In other terms, what this matter is normally referred to is ISR.
ISR, okay.
Institutional, systemic racism.
Interesting.
Yeah. Here on radio, we added an H to it at the front. The H stands for historic.
Yeah.
So we got a HISR, right? Historic, institutional, systemic racism. And that's what we are confronting every day and dealing with it, right? From across the board, we get people calling us and bringing to our attention to say, we want you to touch this topic, we want to touch that topic. And sometimes people don't understand that we are not empowered to be able to deal with all these situations in the community. So it's good to discuss them. The more we discuss them,
we need to.
The better we are able to deal with them,
Absolutely.
right, across the different institutions. So go back to the football, because my brain's now wandering off that direction, right? And in the football, we have got, look at our team. Fantastic. See the diversity in the team.
Brilliant.
Right? And if anybody would care to check all that out, you'll be quite pleasantly surprised that we have at least 5 players who are from non-English born, or parents, or history, so which is quite a lot.
Fantastic.
And, the French, look how many players they had.
Fantastic.
Right? Yeah. Their origins were from West Africa. But going forward, we want to see a reflection of that in our local teams.
Absolutely.
If you take King Power, can you remember the last time, apart from Hamza Chowdhury, there was an Asian player playing there?
Hamza's the only one I remember.
Right. Now, there are thousands of grassroots players, right, in the system, but you don't see them, right? So these are issues which also we sit and talk about them collectively, so we can help the situation.
Absolutely.
We can create change. So there are many, many areas. Today, in a half-hour discussion, we cannot possibly push those buttons and create change.
I can tell you just thinking about football right now.
Exactly. So football is on my mind right now because that's what everybody is thinking about right now. And you can see when you can't hear the traffic very well because
That's right.
they're all rushed home early.
It's gone quiet.
It's gone quiet. And I think we will definitely touch upon more topics here, right, to create that change that we are looking for. I'm saying that today we've met, we've talked, and it's all about footsteps. If you take the best footsteps, do the best things, all of us, the people that follow those footsteps will see success better than what we will.
Absolutely.
And we have to emulate the children, the grassroots, what you mentioned earlier on. They have to emulate us. So we take the right footsteps, they will be better for it. So all the responsibility is upon me, you and I, isn't it? It's all about the footsteps, guys. All of you listening in right now, you follow the right footsteps, you'll get the right results. You follow the wrong footsteps, you'll get the wrong results.
My only advice to anybody, especially to the young listening, whatever the footsteps are, take them. Nothing will happen whilst you're not moving, so whatever you're thinking about, whatever, job you're thinking of doing, as Brother Zed has talked about, just take the steps. Start doing something in whatever way it is, and, inshallah, you will see the benefits of it. But
and of
start
course,
taking the steps.
Everyone who's listening in right now, anyone who's in a POP position of power, right, is carrying on their shoulder change. It's up to them to create that change for the better, for all communities, not only for one community, right? Don't be there for self-interest, don't be there for self-enrichment. You be dedicated, you be committed, you be passionate in what you're doing. If you're in any position of power, like my brother Yakub Ismail is here, and we all get inspired by that. And many will follow, right? I can assure you, Brother Yakub Ismail, that I feel the positive energy from you today that we can create that change.
Inshallah, I'm hoping we can.
Right? So we're going to be closing up very shortly, and the message from all of us here at the radio is be the change that you want to see in the world.
Wow, excellent.
No, not my quote, I picked it up from someone else.
Fantastic quote.
Right.
And Jazakallah to you and your radio station for for having me. It's a fantastic opportunity for me to meet your listeners through your radio talk show. And I'm hoping I have mentioned Neighborhood Link enough. Please register on Neighborhood Link. Use that platform to hold me accountable, to tell me what matters to you, and that way we can start a conversation and engaging. And it's been a pleasure being on the radio show with you. Some important conversations mentioned in there about prevent, about trust, and about building relationships, and I'm hoping we can do that on the next talk show. Jazakallah.
Of course, there is a lot more to come yet. Now we've started the first rung of the ladder. There'll be some good collaborations in sport, in football, in cricket, and other sports.
Hopefully in golf,
in rugby, and golf as well, right? So we got to do all those 4 sports to start with, and maybe even basketball.
Excellent.
Although I have not seen many policemen playing basketball, right?
Oh, we do. We've got a basketball team. I think currently it's just a ladies police basketball team that before COVID, I know they were doing very well. Obviously they haven't played because of the COVID period, but before that they were doing well.
Of course. And we can engage across the board, can't we?
Absolutely.
And every engagement has got to be a fun day. If it's a sporting event, it's got to be a fun day. Like Saturday, we had a great time. We met, out of the 335 you mentioned, I met 4 of them there that day.
Excellent.
Right? Including Brother Wahid, who's taking care of Evington Road. For the constabulary.
Wahid Akhtar, who is the local beat officer for Evington, especially Evington Road. He's from this community. He lives in this community. Things that happen in this community mean so much to him. And thanks for mentioning him. I'm sure some of your listeners will know him anyway.
Of course, he's often we see him, and he's with his partner here, who's also in this beat on Evington Road. and I don't recall his name. Maybe you are
Pete Colgate.
Yeah, Pete
Sergeant,
Colgate. Sergeant Pete Colgate. Often.
He's responsible for Evington Road and the Evington area, and a lot of your listeners would have seen him during the month of Ramadan with a yellow jacket outside, on Evington Road.
Definitely, we'll be arranging a meet and greet and some food also for the two of them to meet everybody in the Evington Traders Association.
I think you had an offer for samosas and tea, so
yeah. Well, that's a separate meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a lot to do. Brother Yakub Ismail, together we have to achieve all these objectives, right? A lot to do, and we shall start working straight away after the game on Sunday.
Inshallah.
We shall start. So thank you very much for listening in, all of you in the city of Leicester, in the county, or if you're listening in on any of the social media platforms. We shall pick up with you again very shortly. So goodbye from myself and from
Inspector Yakub Ismail. Assalamu alaikum. Stay safe, everybody.
Wa alaikum salam. Jazakallah khair for attending today. Thank you.